This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad. Mad, 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 mad.
This is A World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. Monday Fallout, where the headlines aren't just headlines, they're shrapnel. From D.C. to across the globe, the fallout is everywhere. I'm here to call it what it is. No sugar, no spin. But before I begin, I want to clear up some things, kind of like a little housekeeping, we'll call it. Several of you have written to me saying you cannot find my email anywhere in my podcast. So I'm scratching my head and wondering what I'm doing wrong. My email address I give at the end of each episode. It's also in the notes below each episode. So I'm going to give you the email now before I start this episode. If you'd like to reach me with your comments and thoughts, wolfpacktalks@gmail.com, okay? WOLFPACKTALKS@gmail.com. Use it. Let me know you're there. I would appreciate it. Okay, now that that's out of the way, here we go. The cloud crash. No, this isn't about the weather. This is about the cloud that holds your photos, your money, your job, and half the global internet. And today, it crashed. When the internet's backbone breaks. So picture this. It's Monday morning, coffee in hand, scrolling your phone, and suddenly the internet forgets how to internet. Amazon Web Services, the invisible machine running half the planet, faceplants around 3:11 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, when the thing sneezes, the whole world catches the flu. Within hours, it's digital chaos. Snapchat, gone. Signal, silent. Major streaming services and shopping apps went dark. Your smart home turned into an average dumb house from 1987. Even banks and delivery apps joined the blackout parade. Now, the numbers are wild. Almost 2 million outages reported from the U.S., another million in the UK, hundreds of thousands more in Australia, all because one region in Northern Virginia hiccuped. One misfire in a system that handles global internet traffic, one mistake, and suddenly the world's holding its breath while Alexa's having a stroke. So what does this mean for everyone? If you own a small business, payments, tracking, invoices all run through the cloud. That's tech talk for someone else's computer you can't reach when it dies. The cloud goes down. You can't bill, can't ship, can't even send an apology email. You're home watching Netflix. Not anymore. Your Ring doorbell isn't recording. Your bank app just spins like a roulette wheel. You realize every smart thing in your life just got dumb at the same time. And here's the part nobody's talking about. Governments and banks depend on this same system. The one company that runs your photo backup also runs some government servers. So if that goes down during a cyber attack, congratulations! We've just found a new national security risk. Why this is a big deal? Dependency shock. We've handed the keys of modern life to a few tech giants. One falls asleep at the wheel, and we all wake up in 1994. Experts are calling it users at the mercy of too few providers. No kidding. Economic fallout. Every second offline bleeds money. One estimate says Amazon alone lost over $72 million per hour. Per hour. That's like watching a pile of cash go up in flames every single minute while nobody can turn the power back on. And here's the national security twist. Some federal services run on the same servers that host your cat videos. If that's not a wake-up call, I don't know what is. Next time you tap your banking app and it works in 2 seconds, give a little nod to that unseen data center in Virginia. Because if their router had a bad morning, so do you. When the servers go down, your paycheck, your messages, your digital life all go dark with them. This isn't some cloud floating in the sky. It's the skeleton holding up civilization's Wi-Fi. And it just reminded us how fragile it is. When the cloud goes down, do we all fall with it? Yes. Today proved we can. And the real question is, what happens when it's not an accident next time? Mines, minerals, and power. Trump meets Australia's Prime Minister Albanese. The United States and Australia are shaking hands over dirt. But not just any dirt. The dirt powers your phone, your car, your fighter jet, and probably the missile that will blow up the next oil field. Donald Trump rolled out the White House carpet for Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. The cameras showed smiles, flags, and that awkward handshake Trump always turns into an arm wrestling match. But behind the photo op was something a lot less ceremonial. They were talking about control of the modern world. We used to fight wars over oil. Now the battlefield is lithium, cobalt, nickel, and rare earth minerals. The stuff inside every electric vehicle, smartphone, satellite, and missile guidance system. And right now, China controls more than 80% of the processing power for those materials. Not the mining, the processing. That's the part that turns raw rock into something that makes your Tesla move and your phone light up. So when China tightens the tap, the rest of the world holds its breath. The U.S. is scrambling to find new friends who have the resources and the political will to dig them up. That's where Australia walks in, holding the shovel. What does all of this mean? Australia has massive deposits of lithium and rare earths. Prime Minister Albanese knows it. Trump knows it. The difference is what each one wants out of the deal. Trump wants a steady supply chain that doesn't run through Beijing. Albanese wants investment guarantees, trade deals, and to not get played like a pawn in a resource war between superpowers. In plain English, this is the modern version of, I'll buy your oil if you let me build a refinery. Only this time, the refinery is a battery plant, and the oil is the dirt under Australia's red desert. Why does this matter? You might think this is just politics on the other side of the planet. It's not. The batteries in your phone, the chips in your car, the grid that keeps your lights on, all depend on this stuff. If China decides to cut off exports tomorrow, the price of everything electronic would shoot up like a SpaceX rocket. Manufacturing would stall. Energy projects would freeze. The economy would sweat like a politician under oath. This is not some faraway trade dispute. This is the foundation of how modern life functions. What's really at stake? The question is whether Trump's transactional deal-making can hold a partnership built on long-term strategy. Australia is saying, we'll help you, but we're not your factory. The U.S. is saying, help us, or we'll buy from whoever will. That's not a partnership. That's economic tinder. And while they smile for the cameras, China's sitting back, sipping green tea, watching the two biggest democracies argue over whose mine gets blown up first. If the 20th century ran on oil, the 21st century runs on lithium, cobalt, and leverage. And right now, the world is running low on patience and high on competition. Welcome to the new energy war, fought not with tanks, but with shovels, trade deals, and a mountain of dirt that runs your life. Now, before I move on to the next important story I want to share with you, you can reach me again at wolfpacktalks@gmail.com with your comments and thoughts. Or voicemail box 24/7, toll free anywhere in the United States and Canada, 833-399-9653. Please use it. Okay, let me talk about when democracies crack down on dissent. The hidden erosion of protest rights in the West. The right to protest, that supposed crown jewel of democracy, is being slowly strangled by the same countries that won't shut up about how free they are. A new report from the International Federation for Human Rights calls out the US, the UK, France, and Germany for quietly clipping their citizens' vocal cords. Now, these are the people who hand out democracy like Halloween candy. Now they're patting your head and telling you, you can have your freedom, just keep it down. How are they doing it? Counterterrorism laws, anti-hate speech laws, public order laws. They're stacking laws like Lego bricks until nobody can move. It's genius, really. You don't have to outlaw protest if you could just regulate it to death. In France, the government is dissolving organizations and denying protest permits like they're running out of ink. The laws are so vague, they could outlaw a frown in public. The UK has started jailing climate activists for blocking roads. And in the US, states are turning annoying traffic into a felony. Congratulations, America. We finally found something worse than road rage. While all that's happening, press freedom just hit a 50-year low. 50 years! So you're not only less free to protest, you're less likely to even hear about the ones that still happen. Sound familiar, Wolfpack listeners? The watchdog isn't barking anymore. It's been neutered, blindfolded, and told to smile for the camera. And why is this happening? Because governments hate mirrors. Protest is the mirror that shows what they really look like. Nobody likes seeing themselves without the filters. You don't silence chaos, you silence truth. And they're doing it with paperwork instead of bullets. This is how democracy dies, not with tanks in the streets, but with permits that never get approved, with fines that scare organizers into staying home. Every right becomes a privilege, and every privilege comes with a fee. And yes, all of the previous stories I talked about are connected. The AWS crash showed how fragile our systems are. The rare earth deal showed how hungry nations are for control. This is the next step. When governments can't control the economy or the internet, they control you. If you think it's only happening overseas, wake up, protest a pipeline here, and you could end up in handcuffs, guys. March in front of a government building, and suddenly you're an extremist. The message is simple. Sit down, shut up, let the grown-ups ruin the planet. So what happens when democracies start criminalizing dissent? What's left of the democracy part? Freedom doesn't vanish in one dramatic scene. It erodes through loopholes and fine print while everyone's arguing on social media. The right to protest is the immune system of a free society. And right now, that system is crashing, and the fever is rising. By the time people notice the patient won't be sick anymore, it'll be dead. And the obituary will read, "No one wanted to cause a scene." Let me talk about when watchdogs get silenced. The creeping squeeze on a U.S. nonprofits companies and what it means for democracy. Donald Trump's people have decided the real threat to America isn't corruption or billionaires or collapsing bridges. It's the Open Society Foundations. Yes, the group that funds libraries, human rights programs, and disaster relief is apparently the headquarters of left-wing political violence. The plan is simple. Investigate them. Drag them through committees. Rewrite the tax code so that everyone who questions authority suddenly looks like an enemy of the state. That isn't reform. That is political revenge in a red, white, and blue gift bag. And a government starts punishing the organizations for who they are instead of what they do. Democracy doesn't wobble. It starts choking on its own hypocrisy while pretending to clear its throat. Civil society groups across the country are locking arms, saying an attack on one is an attack on all. They are right. Nonprofits are the scaffolding that keeps democracy from collapsing on our heads. They dig where reporters can't, feed people when the system fails, and speak truth when the rest of us are too burned out to try. Kill that off, and you don't just lose charity, you lose accountability. Picture the Super Bowl with no referees, no rules, and the home team owning the cameras. That's not a game. That's a con. People think democracy happened once every 4 years in a voting booth. Wrong. It happens every single day in courtrooms, food banks, classrooms, and tiny offices running on donations and caffeine. That's where democracy actually lives, in the daylight between elections. Trump's crew calls these groups too political. Too political? Feeding kids and protecting voting rights are now radical acts. Meanwhile, conservative outfits pump millions into campaigns with the subtlety of a foghorn. This is not about fairness. It's about clearing the field before the next kickoff. If they could strip one group's status, nothing stops them from going after every voice that calls them out. Today it's Open Society. Tomorrow it's the climate people. Next week it's your local newsroom. The slope isn't slippery, it's a cliff. While the public scrolls through celebrity feuds, this is unfolding in fluorescent lit committee rooms. No one is watching. Democracies don't collapse in fireballs anymore. They fade under paperwork while the lights hum overhead. Here's why it matters. When you suffocate nonprofits, power doesn't disappear. It just migrates upward. Corporations move in, billionaires take over, money replaces mission, influence replaces conscience. It connects directly to everyone else I've covered. The cloud crash showed dependence on one company. The minerals fight showed dependence on one resource. This is dependence on one story, written by whoever can afford the pen. This is the fallout. The cloud collapses, the minerals get fought over, the watchdogs get gagged. And suddenly the only people left talking are the ones already shouting from the top. Don't shrug this off as politics. This is the bloodstream of democracy itself. Because when the watchdogs go quiet, the burglars don't sneak, they sprint. And that is how a nation loses its voice. Before I end this podcast episode, I'd like to offer some friendly reminders to you, the listener. First, thank you for those that are leaving comments where it shows, send me a text message now. You'll see this message depending on what app you're using when you listen to my podcast. A few things that are very important for you. I do not know who is sending me your text message without you telling me. So if you write me a fabulous comment, I don't see your name and I don't see where you're from. I just see your message. So please say this is Mark or Lorraine from Colorado, from Florida, wherever. Let me know the basics, please. Second, when you leave a text message there, that's perfect, but I can't answer you back. I have no way of commenting back to you if you ask me a question, and it's frustrating for me. So please leave your email also with your comment. That way I can write back to you, Mark, Lorraine, whoever, directly. Could you do me that favor, please? Third, some of you are sharing my podcast with others. Thank you. Please realize the title of my podcast is not World Gone Mad. If you tell people to listen to my podcast, World Gone Mad, they will not be able to find my podcast when they search. It will take them somewhere else to a different podcast. You have to include the letter A. A World Gone Mad is the full podcast name. I'm just doing this as a helpful reminder. Please use the letter A in the full title. That will allow other people to search for the podcast wherever they find podcasts, and then they'll go directly to me. And finally, several people texted me and said, "Damn, Jeff, I missed your podcast. When does it air? What time?" This is not a radio show. It's not a television show. It does not have a set airtime. The beauty of a podcast is you can listen to my podcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you want to listen at 2:15 a.m. on a Wednesday, you can. If you want to listen at 1 p.m. on a Saturday, you can. It's available 24 hours. You do not need to tune in as if it's a radio show on a set time schedule. And this also allows you to listen to older episodes as well. So I just want to clear up some of the things because several people are still thinking of podcasts as radio or television schedules. I thank you all for your support. Please keep sharing my podcast. Please encourage 2 or 3 of your friends who haven't listened yet. When they do, and they become active listeners, my podcast is pushed to thousands of more listeners because of that small effort. This is A World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. I'll be back with another episode Wednesday. And the only thing that keeps me going is your emails, your texts, and your voice messages. Until then, Wolfpack listeners, remain skeptical, keep focused, but most of all, stay hopeful.